Hi everyone, Drew with Drew Talks. I wanted to make another video on COVID. We haven't spoken about it in a while, and I thought it was time we addressed it again since we are all still living under the COVID cloud, and talk about the nation's numbers, Montana's numbers, since I live in Montana, so that's kind of my area of the woods. So let's look at some pictures I took today from different websites. So the first one is from the CDC site, and it goes over total cases of COVID-19 in the United States, and then it goes over the total deaths. So you see it has there 3,355,457 cases, and the total deaths are 135,235, with 351 new deaths reported. I tried very hard to find the active cases listed on the CDC site. I could not find them. I think that might be because not all states are listing their recovery rates. So they're just putting the total number of cases. They're not saying how many people have recovered, which would help coming up with what the death rate is. Right now, if I have to use the total cases for coronavirus on the CDC site and the total deaths, I would come up with 4.03% kill rate. But I'm counting also in active cases where we don't know whether those people are going to survive or die, so number could be different. Also, we all know there's a ton of drama with the COVID stats right now. People are being listed as a COVID death without a positive test being done. If you have some of the symptoms, cough, chest congestion, fever, you can be listed as a COVID death if you die. And in fact, I think he was a reporter. It's kind of interesting. He did a whole segment on his journey through COVID. And then when they did the test on him, they found he had never had it. He had pneumonia. And they just were able to just say, well, he has COVID just because he had the symptoms without doing the test. So if you look at the number of deaths from COVID, I really wonder, I didn't look at this, maybe somebody would want to look at how many people have died from the flu this year. And if our flu numbers are way down, I mean, it calls into question. And right now I'm bunny trailing off on a conspiracy, but anyway, the numbers fascinate me, and I want them to be accurate so we can get a handle on what we're dealing with. So let's take a look also here. These are new cases by day according to the CDC. As you can see, our cases are skyrocketing. And interestingly enough, a lot of these people are asymptomatic, and we've increased our testing. So what this tells me is the virus is actually incredibly widespread, which we do know since it was in France before Christmas, which means it made it to the US well before the shutdown, because there was a lot of travel between Europe and the United States. So I'm guessing this virus is widespread. It has a lot of asymptomatic cases, and it's just everywhere already. So the fact that increasing testing increases the numbers fascinates me, because it means most people don't know they have this. Must be pretty awful. All right, so let's take a look at, I want to draw your attention to Montana. This is another thing from the CDC site. You see Montana, we have reported cases. We're in the light green, yay Montana. And you see the darker blue is so bad. And then let's take a look here. These are deaths. So you see Montana, we are almost down to the bottom of the barrel for deaths. Other places have been hit harder, especially places with a higher population, California and New York. Those are the big boys of the US. Now, I wanted to read you something that I read this morning. It's from the Bible, but bear with me, it's good. I read the book of Proverbs, and Proverbs is not prophecy, but it is wisdom. And there was this verse that I found really interesting, and I'll bring it back around and explain where I'm going with this in just a second. So Proverbs 18 verse 14 says, "A man's spirit sustains him in sickness, but a crushed spirit who can bear?" And then there is Proverbs 17 verse 22, which says, "A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones." I found those so interesting because up until now, we've always been told by doctors, by those with platforms, that our mental health affects us a lot. And I've always kind of thought, well, how much of a margin does it actually affect us? Like maybe like a 1% iota, like maybe it does. But I've been starting to see a lot of articles talking about how fear can damage your immune system, and our mental health affects us physically. A lot of times I think people separate mental wellness from physical wellness, when actually the mind is part of your body, and how you are mentally doing will affect your physical ailments. So if you get sick and you're depressed, it's going to be harder to kick it. Now, the reason I bring this up is that I have been following religiously South Dakota's numbers. And the reason I have been is because South Dakota is the only state in the union who did not do mandatory shutdowns. They did shutdowns, but they were all voluntary based on what the people thought was best for their health. The governor of South Dakota, she got chastised for it. It was a big risk. But she said, I'm going to have to trust my people to be responsible. And what has fascinated me about South Dakota's stats, so let's take a look at South Dakota. I'm going to pull it up right here. This is from today. So South Dakota, they've had a lot of cases, 7,652 cases, okay? They had 80 positive today. They've been trending down on their active cases. So they've had 111 deaths, and 6,663 have recovered. That puts South Dakota at a 1.64% death rate. Now remember, the CDC is reporting that we're at a 4% death rate. South Dakota's death rate is astronomically lower than that. They have had a ton of cases, but very few deaths. We can get into why that is. I don't know. And I've been asking online, I've been posting, why is South Dakota less than everywhere else? And I'm going to compare South Dakota to Montana. So let's take a look here. Montana, this is for today, 145 new cases. We're still in phase 2, still under lockdown. We have had 915 recovered and 34 deaths. That puts Montana at a 3.58% death rate. Our death rate is twice what South Dakota's is. Some of you may not think that's a big deal, but it does fascinate me. South Dakota didn't shut down. Montana did. Montana did. We have people facing economic hardship. We have people facing depression, mental illness, suicide, addictions, all that stuff that comes with a total government takeover is what we're facing. Anxiety, fear, wear your mask, hide, wash your hands. You are a child. You do not get to have an opinion on what you do with your health. So living under paternalism, our death rate is twice what South Dakota's is. Now, maybe I'm an optimist, but it seems to me a cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. Are we making ourselves sicker by fear and anxiety and people feeling powerless. I don't know. I'm going to keep following these numbers. But again, I have been watching South Dakota, and first I thought their death number was a fluke, but they have thousands of cases and it's stayed relatively low. So we'll just keep an eye on it. I don't know what the future holds. I didn't get my minor in arrogance like a lot of these academics do. So I'm not even going to try to make a prediction about what's going to happen. But I'm going to leave you with this because I want to leave on a good note. So let's take a look at this bad boy right here. Reported coronavirus deaths per day in US. Now you see that one giant stem there? That's when New York added 3,700 probable cases that were never confirmed. But oh my gosh, look at that. Skiing down that slope. There's one little tree sticking up above the 2,000 mark, but man, we are skating down. Experts say don't celebrate, it's going to go back up. But you know, they haven't been right yet. So I'm going to be optimistic. I hope it stays down. I pray it stays down. To me, cases going up is irrelevant when the deaths are plummeting. So yay, celebrate that. Celebrate that with me. So anyway, like this video, subscribe, share it. I know we went over a lot of boring stats, but you know, pay attention, guys. This is your life. This is your world. And you want to know what on earth you're talking about. So there you go. Thanks, everyone. Bye.